Hello. Hello again. Welcome back to Bizarre Brain Comics. It's not going to work. Welcome back to Bizarre Brain Comics. This is my second video. I wanted to finish talking about Superman #1. Last time I spoke a little bit about the creators, Joe Siegel and Jerry Schuster. I got that backwards. Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. The two Jewish boys from Cleveland, Ohio. And how they came up with the character. Now I wanted to get back to this. It's a little something that I'd mentioned previously, was that in their first iteration of the Superman, called The Reign of the Superman, which they created for their small science fiction fanzine, the character had super mental powers, and he was a villain. It was his intention, hence the title, to reign over the entire Earth. Now, of course, then they reworked that character into the physical specimen that we know of Superman. But they also, again, reworked that character into a Superman villain a few years later. And he was called the Ultra Humanite. And he was just basically super mental powers. But he was a villain, and he had tried to take over the world, and Superman defeated him. But you can see, just in that name, is derived from Superman, Ultra Humanite. Okay. And let's get started on the story. Okay, here we are again with first edition, famous first editions, Superman #1 from 1939. I wanted to see here's red boots, the red S on a yellow field. It's fairly well defined right there, and the iconic blue and red form-fitting costume with the trunks. Now, some people say, well, he wears underwear on the outside. Well, of course, it's not underwear. Now, this costume became the template for virtually all superheroes thereafter. Of course, the name superhero wasn't even coined until sometime in the 60s. At this point in time, these characters were known as mystery men. And with Superman, one of the primary reasons, of course, that way you get to see all of his physique, his magnificent physique. But it's based primarily on the tights worn in circuses by the circus strongman and the acrobats. So it's for freedom of movement, and of course the trunks on the outside, because at that time they often wore trunks similar to swimming trunks on the outside of their tights, because tights could be a little bit too revealing. Now, sometimes even the trunks can be a little too revealing. Now, let's get back here into the story. This is where I left off. I wanted to tell you about this. Okay. At the end of the first part of the story has this picture here. And Superman swelling his chest and bursting chains. Again, another iconic image, which is still used in the comics today. And over here up on the splash panel of this page, because at the end, remember here, he had this guy named Greer, who was a corrupt lobbyist, corrupting a senator, and he was scaring the willies out of him. And he leaped over here for from the Capitol building to another building, and said, "Oh, missed, doggone it!" Of course, he missed on purpose. Then here, first panel, recreating that same image, but notice something missing. Like I said, their panel-to-panel continuity wasn't necessarily that strong in the art. So often forgot they were usually probably being produced at a rather hectic pace for the amount of material needed for all the magazines that they were contributing to. But here, completely forgot the S. No one seemed to have caught that or cared. Here's the S again. You don't really see it. Get a vague image of it right over here in this panel, but otherwise it's just down here. No S, and his feet are still blue. And you have the laced footgear. Okay. Notice also no titles. The first page that we went through before, no title. It's just Superman. And the other Superman stories in this issue have no titles. Okay. As they topple like a plummet to the streets below, 80 stories distant, Greer shrieks insanely the entire length of the building. You can't really tell how tall it is, but it gives some perspective here. You can see by seeing the streets below, it's very high, but very little background. Again, just an indication. As they strike the sidewalk, it bursts into fragments. Say, wasn't that fun? Let's do it again. No, I'll talk. The man behind the threatening war is Emil Norville, the munitions magnate. You'll find him at his Lexington Park estate. Having secured the information he desires, Superman takes abrupt leave of Greer, springs to the top of the Washington Monument, gets his bearings, then begins his dash toward Norville's home, or residence, rather. Meanwhile, you can see the guy got on the phone. I can't explain over the phone, Norville, but you're about to receive a visit from the most dangerous man alive. Don't worry, Greer. I'll take certain precautions to ensure he doesn't remain alive. There's a little funny I noticed. What's the deal with the phone? It looks like a goofy nose. You can't talk into the phone like that. I don't know what the deal is with that. Why is that so goofy? 5 minutes later, then Superman steps through the window of Emil Norville's study and calmly confronts him. Whether you like it or not, Norville, you're coming with me. Sorry, but I have other plans. As he speaks, the munitions manufacturer surreptitiously reaches behind him to press a button on his desk. What are you holding behind you? Give it to me. All right, boys. He asked for it. Let him have it. And instantly, several panels about the room slide aside, and out steps a number of armed guards. Next moment, Superman is the center of a deafening machine gun barrage. Brack! And they're all bouncing off his chest. That many bullets bouncing around should probably kill all these guys. Again, background. No real detail, nothing to tell you. Just a hint at the doors that they had come through. Unharmed by the rain of machine gun bullets, Superman streaks toward his would-be murderers. Good heavens, he won't die. Glad I can't say the same for you. There's a real threat. A moment later, a dozen bodies fly headlong out the window into the night, machine guns wrapped firmly about their necks. You see how effortlessly I crush this bar of iron in my hand? That bar could just as easily be your neck. Now for the last time. Are you coming with me? Yes, immediately. Several minutes later, you see that steamer. It's the Baronta. Tomorrow it leaves for San Monte. Unless I find you aboard it when it sails, I swear I'll follow you to whatever hole you hide in and tear out your cruel heart with my bare hands. I'll be on it. That's pretty grim for Superman. That's even grim for Batman. Next day, an odd variety of passengers board the San Monte-bound steamer Baronta. Clark Kent and Lois Lane. Lois, what are you doing here? Our editor decided to have me accompany you to the war zone and send back dispatches colored with my distinctive feminine touch. A group of sullen-faced toughs who possibly intend to enlist with one of the armies as paid mercenaries. And they do look like a bunch of gangsters. Lola Cortez, woman of mystery, an exotic beauty who fairly radiates danger and intrigue. Uh-oh. Foreshadowing there. And Emil Norval, who hurries pasty-faced up the gangplank and quickly confines himself to his cabin. Half an hour later, the Baronta hoists its anchor and slips out to sea, destined for one of the strangest voyages the world has ever known. More hyperbole. It is the first night out. As Norval nervously paces his cabin, there comes a knock at the door. He answers it. You! Yes, I thought I'd drop by and compliment you on having had sense enough to show up. Then, look here. You can't even find an S in there. It's just some random lines. Not even describing an S. Just to let you know that there's something that's supposed to be there. A moment later, Superman departs. That's him. But remember, if he dies, your reward will be fabulous. He's as good as dead right now. See, he's a gangster, and you saw him up here. More foreshadowing. Okay. As Superman stands silently at the ship's rail, admiring the moonlight, he whirls suddenly at the sound of footsteps. All together now, get him! For an instant, Superman braces himself against the rail, and in that second, it gives way. And you can actually barely see if without the description, you might have difficulty actually telling what happens there. Should show, not tell. He is flung, twisting and turning into the ocean. The thugs report back to Norval. It was simple, a little shove, and he toppled overboard. Now how about that dough you promised us? You'll get nothing. Get out of here, you trusting fools, and be glad I don't turn you over to the police. Meanwhile, at that very instant, Superman, swimming vigorously, has caught up with the steamer. But instead of climbing aboard, he continues onward until the Baronta is outdistanced far behind. See you later. Kind of clunky, just to have some dialogue there. Next evening, a few minutes after the steamer lands, Norval is attacked by his double-crossed henchmen. Yikes, you betcha. Justifiably so. You don't mess around with people who tough guys who you've ripped off and your life depended on it. Okay. Norval is saved by the timely appearance of Superman. Holy cats, it's him. Right, and here's where I even a little score. Superman subjects the toughs to the severest thrashing in their lives. Pretty easy for him. The thugs flee before his fury. You saved me, but why? Because the fate you escaped is pleasant indeed compared to the one I have in store for you. What are you going to do to me? Nothing if you join the San Monte army. Gulp, yeah. Later in his hotel. If I could only do something, but it's suicide to resist that inhuman creature. I know what I'll do. I'll enlist in the army, then escape at the first opportunity. Yeah. That's not much of a plan, but... After Norval enlists, you... Yes, how does he recognize him? All he should be able to recognize him is from his suit. You... Yes, I joined too. I couldn't bear being parted from you. Because if he can recognize him as Superman there, everyone else should have no problem recognizing Clark Kent as Superman. Especially Lois, and she sees both of them. Orders from headquarters, sir, where to move to the front. The new detachment moves in toward the battle line. What are you trying to do? Kill us both? You'll see. Now here, it's giving you absolutely no real idea of why is there a war? Who's fighting whom? What's the purpose? It's just a convenient little war. What I can't understand is why you manufacture munitions when it means that thousands will die horribly. Men are cheap, munitions expensive. At that instant, a shell whines overhead, then bursts. Kablooey! The column of soldiers drop flat to escape flying fragments. This is no place for a sane man. I'll die. I see. When it's your own life that's at stake, your viewpoint changes. Yeah, you can see there's some subtle hint there. You can see the message that Siegel is trying to tell. Shortly later, the company pitches camp and retires. Sentries are puzzled by a dark shadow. What was that? Probably just a bird. Yeah, bird. Bird? Maybe it's a plane. But in reality, it is Superman speeding to a strange rendezvous in the enemy camp. But the question, General, is how strong are our lines? Impenetrable. At that instant, a figure bursts into the tent. Smile, please. And no sound effect for click. You can't. Might be difficult to tell what he's actually holding in his hands there. You have to go by context here. And if you notice in this panel here, you see he's got something over his shoulder. And it's supposed to be the camera that we saw Clark Kent with previously. A few minutes later, gone, but he won't escape. Guards! Later that evening, Clark Kent mails a package. Where to? The Evening News, Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland. See, heretofore, they'd never mentioned what city it was in. We all just instantly assume Metropolis. But, so, apparently, initially, the paper, the Daily Star, that Superman worked for, was in Cleveland, Ohio, where Siegel and Schuster are from. The Evening News prints a picture scoop. Amazing war pictures. Of course, you can't. Just a hint. Just a hint. Generals confer. It needs that to tell you what's in that image. Meanwhile, Lois Lane and Lola Cortez have registered at the same hotel. I'm a reporter down here on a news assignment. And you? A wealthy traveler. Just to give you a little reference for what passes for a plot here. Again, the foreshadowing. At that instant, Army officers enter the hotel. What's the trouble? Official business. Suddenly panicky, Lola darts into an elevator and hides a certain document in Lois's room. Obviously, of course, she didn't know that was Lois's room. So I'm surprised it wasn't locked. An important document has been stolen. May we search the guests' rooms? You have my permission. Don't know what kind of document, what it says. Don't even say anything about who she was working for. Sorry, madam. I told you that was wasting. You were wasting time searching in my room. Yeah, because she was already stashed it someplace else. The planted document is discovered in Lois' room. Sorry, we must place you under military arrest. But I know nothing of this. Sentence is passed. This is mighty fast court proceedings. But I'm innocent. It is the judgment of this court that you shall be executed at dawn for espionage. No reprieve, no opportunity for I still can't think of the word. Contest the verdict. Apparently not. Again, very quick. Kent, in his disguise as a soldier, overhears an astounding bit of information. Have you heard? Lois Lane, a spy, is to be executed this morning. Yes, and exactly at dawn. At dawn, yeah. Lois Lane. Why would anyone else know who Lois Lane was? At that very moment, Lois is being led out to her death. I tell you, you're going to kill an innocent person. And she's going to be executed in a slinky evening dress. Almost faster than the eye can follow, a fantastic figure streaks past mile after mile. Ready, aim, down, down into the range of fire plummets Superman, leaping over a wall. Covering Lois's body with his own, he receives the shots meant for her. Shoot and be hanged. Again, all the bullets ricochet off his skin. Notice still, plain blue feet. Stop! You can't do this. It's impossible. Thanks for letting me know. It's supposed to be a smart quip. Kind of lame if you ask me, but Superman, right, and still playing the role of gallant rescuer. What manner of being are you? Save the questions. Finally, Superman drops toward the ground into the midst of a torturer's inquisition. You'll tell me how many men there are in your detachment, or nothing to really indicate, obviously, which one is from which army, because they look exactly the same. Let me go. What are you going to do? Give you the fate you deserve, you torturing devil. For an instant, Superman poises the torturer overhead, then tosses him away as though he were hurling a javelin. Yeah, the torturer vanishes from view behind a grove of distant trees with a pitiful wail. Yay! Now, you know, that would have killed him. And he basically said as much right up here. He intended to kill him, and he did kill him. Apparently, it's possible he survived, but apparently he did kill him, which is odd for Superman, who I don't know, going back to the 40s, had a strict policy against taking life. Superman unties the torturer's captive's bonds. You're free to flee. Good luck. We owe you our lives. We owe our lives to you. Later, after depositing Lois near the Baronta, Superman advises her to return to America. But when will I see you again? Who knows? Perhaps tomorrow, perhaps never. Kind of melodramatic. And now to attend to Norval. But when Superman returns to his detachment, he finds anti-aircraft guns booming. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. The camp is being mercilessly riddled by a bloodthirsty aviator. Die like crawling ants. I don't know why he'd be necessarily bloodthirsty. Superman leaps to the attack for the first time in all history. A man battles an airplane single-handed. Quite a leap. I wonder how he's able to target it so much, since he is just leaping. He can only jump where if the plane moves on. If his estimations are off, well, there's a wasted leap and it'd be bouncing around a lot. The plane zooms towards Superman's figure, guns blazing. Brap, brap, brap. Yep. Hell, Superman was almost off the panel here and probably should have been more central. Again, no S on that chest. Into a head-on crash. Again, this should have been... Now, it's the kind of staging that they did back then. Today, that would have been an extreme close-up probably on his chest, or the plane crashing into him and whatever. Its propeller shattered upon Superman's skin. The airplane falls to its doom. Norville had witnessed the crash. Good, that finishes my nemesis. At the next instant, hello, surprised, Superman, still alive? Didn't even know that he knew Superman's name. Let me return to the U.S. I've grown to hate war. Okay, but you've got to quit manufacturing munitions. Norville hurries aboard the Baronta for the return trip. From now on, the most dangerous thing I'll manufacture will be a firecracker. That's letting him off pretty easily, considering not knowing that Superman was survived. He tried to kill him, or have him killed twice. That about clears up things. Now just one more maneuver and my mission here will be finished. Shortly later, Superman emerges from a tent with the army's commander under his arm. Later, he also kidnaps the head of the opposing army. What do you want with us? I've decided to end this war by having you two fight it out between yourselves. But go ahead, fight, or I'll clean up on both of you myself. And pretty serious threat. But why should we fight? We're not angry at each other. Then why are your armies battling? I don't know. Can you tell me? No, can you? See. There was a war, but nobody knew why they were fighting. Gentlemen, it's obvious you've been fighting only to promote the sale of munitions. Why not shake hands and make up? And so, due to the conciliatory efforts of Superman, the war is halted. When Kent reports back to his editor, since you've been gone, there's been no Superman news. Maybe he's retired for good. Somehow, Chief, I have a hunch he'll make his appearance again soon. The end. Okay. Now, through the course of this story, it was all one story, but there was no overall plot. It just seemed to go from one event to another. And that may be because it was originally intended for a newspaper comic strip. And that's the way Shuster wrote and conceived the stories. But still, no actual title. No actual title. And the panel-to-panel continuity, as you can see, wasn't that great. Had all rather boring staging for the most part. No close-up, no over-the-shoulder. No extreme close-ups. Had a good deal of action, and even that wasn't necessarily depicted the best. Of course, we had this iconic image, which unfortunately he couldn't have done better. But that's but Joe Shuster was still just a beginning artist. Of course, I noticed that in the other stories in the rest of this issue, Superman's boots remained blue also. Now, Joe Shuster, the artist, like I said before, he had problems with his eyesight. Eventually, he went completely blind. And he, after Superman, he took whatever art jobs he could. In fact, he did get, of course, in 1939, they started finally got Superman into the newspaper comic strips, and Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster did that. Now, of course, these are the Sunday pages. They also had dailies. I don't know whether they actually drew all of them. Probably not. They had assistants. There you go. In this text, nice figures. There's a nice good S. Don't know what point these images came from. Probably there. How much was actually Jerry's work? It's a real nice figure there, except it's not him. It's not him. It's just imitating his style. This is Pulaski. I've forgotten his first name. I know. I've seen his work before. I think he did the cover of this book, the Sunday Classics. Now, what I wanted to show is contrast. This is nicer. A little nicer artwork here. This is at the very beginning, again recounting his origin and then getting right into a story. Just straight, regular, the S on his chest, regular triangle. Here's that same image again, only redone. Looks a little better. But just a triangle. It evolved over time. And also remember, a lot of people think the S on his chest, well, it says the family crest of his Kryptonian family, which it is now. Then it was just the S for Superman. To my knowledge, it did not become the family crest of the L family until the Christopher Reeve, Superman, the motion picture from 1978, 79. A very enjoyable movie. But the shape of that S evolved over time. Now, as far as the art is concerned, it's much nicer, tighter here than we saw at the beginning of that other story. But it's still not quite as good. But you can see how it has matured. And then just go a little ways back here, and again, I don't know how much Shuster actually drew himself and how much was from assistants and how much is just, but this pretty much matches his artwork that I've seen later. And the coloring is a little faded here, but the line work, much nicer line work, better figures, better anatomy, more dramatic. Here we got a nice close-up of him catching a bullet. Real nice figure. And the S has changed. And this is more consistent. This is the way that the S looked at that time. As the points on the triangle have been clipped. And eventually it evolves into a more pentagonal shape. But also notice, you can see here that those lines are rounded. And that rounded S, even though the whole thing goes through, here you can see, goes through some evolution, greater evolution, but has those rounded shapes all the way through Wayne Boring and Curt Swan. I think it's in the mid '80s with John Byrne with the reboot that those lines become straight, and the clipped parts is broader, making it more pentagonal, more like a shield look. That's a real nice figure of Clark Kent right there. He did some nice work. Like I said, now Joe Shuster took work wherever he could, and in the 50s he was illustrating, doing some naughty illustrating, if you know what I mean, for a magazine called, what was it? Horror of the Night, I think is what it was called. And it was here, and that stuff is reprinted here in this book, The Secret Identity, The Fetish Art of Superman's co-creator Joe Shuster. And I can't really show you the interior stuff because it's racier than this, but you can see how his style has, it's a nicer line, how it has matured. I'm not talking about the subject matter. I'm talking about the style. Nice face, real nice figure, nice line work, anatomy, composition. But he had a tendency, which is probably his inside joke, to draw many of these characters to look like characters from Superman. Here, this is obviously Clark Kent or Superman. I've seen some of the others, and he looks more like, they have figures that look more like Superman, with the spit curl. And Lois Lane, many characters female figures that look like Lois Lane, and even including Jimmy Olsen, bow tie and all, just with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Now, how about that? How about that? And I think that's about all I've got for you. Thanks for joining me. And remember, comics are culture.